so excited.
It's time for Two Guys and a Goalie with Dustin Nielson, Matt Kassian, and the goalie, Joaquin Gage.
All right, welcome to Two Guys and a Goalie. Dusty, Bellezy, and Gage are with you today, and it's always brought to you by GS Construction. Hiring now. Become a part of their great team today by visiting gsconstruction.ca or just go to their page on indeed.ca. For the past 50 years, the foundation of GS Construction has been built on efficiency, quality, and safety. Take your career to the next level. Join the team at GS Construction today. Bellezy, straight from the John Reed?
Straight from the Johnny Reed and from practice.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, it's been a good morning.
Hockey morning for you.
Been a very busy morning so far. Yeah.
What's the buzz like? I used to do the morning show with John Reed for a long time back when we were at 1260. It was always a nice Thursday morning to kind of kick off that tournament. What's the buzz like out there this year?
To be honest with you, I didn't even feel like there was no buzz.
Really?
And then I actually kind of forgot about it. And then one of my coaches was like, "Are you going to John Reed?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I probably should get my pass."
Go check out there. Yeah, go see what's up.
I'm a scout. I probably should do that.
Yeah.
My job. So yeah, but it was good. I showed up. St. Albert was playing. That building, that bowl sold out. St. Albert, by the time I left, was up 6-0. So
really,
yeah, not bad.
So St. Albert's got a good team this
They
year.
got a good team. They played against Rink Kelowna, so it was good.
Oh.
Nice to see every scout in the world's there. So here we are.
Is it all like academies that come to this now?
It's not all academies, but there's a ton of academies, and I think OHA was there. Rink Kelowna obviously was there. St. George Academy, but then there's St. Albert, and
Yeah.
I think Leduc didn't get invited, but there is other teams that are invited that are club teams or minor hockey teams,
Yeah.
if you will. So Junior Coyotes,
From like Phoenix?
yeah,
No way.
saw them wheeling in.
Huh?
Yeah,
What's the
Were
age
they
group for
tanned?
this one? What is it?
U15?
This is
They
the
were all
U15s?
tanned. Yeah, the U15s.
Is this a strong group? Is that like age group a strong group?
Yeah, there's some pretty decent talent. I think it's a consensus top 3, and then from there it kind of drops off considerably. But yeah, I like some of the high end skill that they have on this team.
Yeah.
So I guess within the draft.
Yeah.
Ranks. So
Okay. Oh, well, it'll be interesting to see how that
I'll be
plays
going
out.
right back after this.
Hey, we were just talking before we started about the show That's Hockey, and I know it's still a thing. Like, but when we were younger, I'd get home from like high school, and Landsberg would do Off the Record for like an hour,
Great show.
and then you get like that was kind of ahead of its time a little
Yep.
bit.
Yep.
And then you'd like, but That's Hockey was the show because like. You weren't on Twitter then.
No.
Yeah, I mean, you could hop on like Yahoo Sports and go check out scores and
No
stuff.
pictures though.
But there
I don't
was
think.
nothing really great going on. That's Hockey was like your connection to the national. I used to love that show.
That was how you got highlights. When my first few years pro on the TV, because it would replay in the morning too, and you'd probably watch it the night before. But that's how you got all your stats and who won. Like half the time you didn't know who won unless you looked at the paper, right?
yeah,
and
was it so black and white when you were?
Yes, that was. It was. It was actually the radio.
God, listening to the radio. I remember rushing to the car in the morning for the bus for our car ride down to the bus, just because we're on a farm. It's like a 2-kilometer drive down to the bus, and Don Cherry's Grapevine was on every single day at like 7:15 on the Cranbrook radio station, and we'd have to make sure we're in the car so we
Really?
could listen to Don Cherry's Grapevine.
I remember, didn't he? He had a show too on Saturday afternoons. John Cherry.
Was it a longer one? Okay, because this was just like a 2-minute snippet.
Oh, no, this was like on TV every Saturday afternoon, Don Cherry's Grapevine, and he had a studio audience. And
I don't remember this at all.
God, I'm old.
What channel?
Well, I don't know. It was probably CBC
Had to have
or
been
something
CBC, I would think.
That's actually unbelievable.
And
You don't remember this either, Bellezy?
No.
the backdrop was a bar, and Grapes would stand behind the bar, and he'd have a guy come in. It would be like
Come on.
Gilmore would be there all the time, or he'd have a Leaf come in, and they'd converse across the bar to one another. You guys don't remember that?
No.
I don't know how I don't remember this.
You guys,
That must have been mid to late 80s.
It was in the 80s for sure.
Yeah, so I would have
well,
been
that
6,
makes
7, 8,
sense.
9.
Yeah.
I do not remember that at all. I remember the little radio
It
snippet.
was probably your guys' nap time at that point.
Probably was.
You know, it might have been my nap time at the time. But That's Hockey was such a good show. Like,
It's the best.
yeah, there's like 2 or 3 things that take me back to growing up as a hockey fan. That's Hockey is one of them. The other one is we had a hockey pool from about the age of 11 on. Me, my buddy Jordan, my buddy Clint, and my dad would be in it. And the 3 of us, we were like 12, 13. We would always just draft our favorite players. My dad would just crush us every single year. But we keep track of it in like a big notebook.
Yeah.
And when the newspaper came out, I'd go through it and track all of it. Then I'd call the guys on the landline and I'd be like, okay, who are you dropping this week? Who are you picking up?
That's
and
amazing.
you'd have to
Holy
track.
smokes.
Oh yeah. I wish I could still find those books just to go back and look at it. Cause that was everything to us. We cared about that league. That was such a good pool.
Now I understand your obsession with fantasy.
Yeah.
I love
so-
the commitment that you
yeah.
have.
Wow.
Oh yeah. Every Tuesday.
Unreal.
And we didn't get the paper. So my mom or dad would have to buy the paper that day. And then I'd go through it, and we each had a roster of like 25 guys.
Yeah.
I'd track it all, add it up, and then call the guys for their waiver claims. And I was like 12, 13 years old.
I remember in junior too, because again, no cell phones, nothing, just Walkmans and books. If someone were to purchase a Hockey News, oh my gosh, that thing! Everyone had to like. By the end of the trip, that thing was just destroyed because everyone had to get it and read it. Like I would read that thing cover to cover. It was great.
I used to do the crosswords.
Yeah.
And then you know what I did do for a long time? And I had
Sudokus probably.
With that? No, I did. I would cut out the cartoons.
Oh.
And I had a what do you call it? The collector's album or the scrapbook
Yeah.
of all the cartoons. And
Oh my gosh.
when I was like younger, like 11, 12, I tried to like come up with my own cartoons for like I was pretty hardcore fan back then, man. Like I absolutely loved it. And then so probably like 4 or 5 years ago, myself and my brother-in-law, the Godfather there, Troy, we were out at that show at Millennium in Sherwood Park, you know, the big collector show that comes every April or whatever. And the one guy had a stack of Hockey Newses taller than me.
Really?
Like it was 7 feet tall, like hundreds of Hockey Newses. And I'm sitting there looking at him, and he's like 200 for the whole stack. And I'm like, I could get 400 Hockey Newses for $200.
Yeah.
And I looked at Troy. I said, I should do this. So I called Tam. I said, what do you think about me bringing home 400 Hockey Newses? And she's like, what would we do with them? Where would we put them? So I thought about it as we walked around, and I was like, no, it's not a reasonable purchase.
It'd be nice to just read Bob McKenzie's column though in those things.
Oh yeah, and his draft rankings all the time.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
What a simple time that was.
I know it was
amazing.
I enjoy the times now, but that was so simple back then, man. Like, I literally would not know who had points in the NHL during the week until I got the Tuesday newspaper and be like, "Oh, Brian Savage had a great week." You know, like it was. That was only ever in October, and then he completely fell off and burned me the rest of the season. But
so
Mr.
good.
October for a reason. Yeah, no, that was. Those are good times, man. That's why I've been playing NHL '94 on the new arcade game over there.
Yeah,
smoked the Kings 9-1 this morning.
Oh, did you?
Who'd you play with?
The Habs.
Yeah.
Classic Brian
choice.
Bellows, Vincent Damphus, Kirk Muller.
Oh, that's a good
And with
lineup.
Schneider and Eric Desjardins on the back end.
Okay.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
I always used to go Canucks, obviously. So I had McLean, Ronning, Bure, Jyrki Lume. I forget who else is on that. But
That was pre Matthias Oland, right?
Yeah.
You wouldn't have
Oh,
been.
yeah.
Yeah.
I was always Chicago.
Oh,
I mean,
the
Roenick.
Roenick train. Just make everyone bleed.
That guy was just a cheat code on that game. That was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Do you guys remember the first time you played with yourself on the video game?
Yes.
I was going to be like,
Whoa.
That's why I clarified. Hey, that's next week on Two Guys A Goalie.
okay.
You know what though? We could probably only hit that topic today because Cass would kill us if we brought that up. Nature.
that's EST Noir.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it wasn't until 97, 98. I got to look because the game's in there, and I could probably.
You're on there somewhere.
I'm on there somewhere. But yeah, to see my face and put me in, I'm just red rotten though. It just
Really?
oh gosh,
That's tough.
It's terrible. I'm literally.
It sucks when you're shitty. You're on the game.
My awareness is like 48, so it's a guy will take a slap shot from the other, and I'll stack the pads, which isn't too far off from what I used to do, but still, come on, it's just bad. Anything outside the
overall was?
Oh, I don't know, maybe 56 or something like that. So yeah.
Mental
I would play myself, but I would. You know how you could, if you held down B, you would take control of the goalie. So I had to take control of myself and make sure. Well,
and then it's so tough to play after you take control.
I know you gotta. It was very difficult for me, but no, I think I finished. Well, once stats came in, I really pumped up my stats and went like that and had a pretty good season.
I remember on like the newer games when you could first start taking control of the goalie and you could like do all the sliding. I was like, this is gonna be awesome. And then I played like a period. I'm like, this is ridiculous. You can't control it. You're barely ever in the action. Bellezy, what about you first time of the game?
I think it was 06.
Okay.
And I was a 74.
Oh, that's not bad.
I think I topped out at a 76.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
So I was good. I actually did use myself the one year I was GMing.
Okay.
And I ended up cutting myself because I wanted too much money.
No way.
I'm like, you selfish blank.
You think you're worth this?
You couldn't resign yourself?
Couldn't resign myself. You're out of here.
That's a good story, man. God. Ocho Cinco on the Nazi chat says Cliff Ronning. Wow, was he fast in that game?
Oh yeah,
Cliffy Ronning could fly.
He was great.
Yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun having that game around. I dabble in NHL 94 every once in a while. All right, it's Nielson, Bellezy, and Gage here on Two Guys and a Goalie, presented to you by GS Construction. If you're watching over on YouTube today, hammer the thumbs up for us. If you're listening on TuneIn or iHeart or at EdmontonSportsTalk.com, you can text us. Lots of texts actually rolling in on this. 10- sends it in and says, from Cherry's Wikipedia page, for several years, he also hosted his half-hour interview show, Don Cherry's Grapevine, which began on Hamilton's CHCH TV in the 80s before moving to TSN.
Yeah.
His loud, outspoken nature became notorious, and his shows are described as game analysis, cultural commentary, and playfully parring with host Ron McLean.
It was great, man. It was. I love that. Every Saturday, I knew it was on Saturday afternoon, so I would make sure. If I didn't, I would try to set up
before wrestling or after wrestling, because that's a big thing.
Saturday.
I think a lot of people
Grow up on the wrestling.
No, I popped it over to John Cherry's Grapevine all the time. But you'd have to get a TV guide back then too, right? And change the dial on the TV
To get up and actually change the dial. First TV I bought with a 4-H calf with some of the money I got from a 4-H calf. And it was a 13-inch color TV, and I put it in my room, and it only had like the 14 channels, and I only needed it for NHL 93 and 94. Like that's all I ever did. I didn't have TV in there. It was just... Blair says, Gager, tell the boys that Blue used to sign off with Don after the interview.
Right. Yeah.
So he would get there and bark with Don.
Blue was there. Blue was in the studio.
Oh, man. Those are the times. Jeez Louise. All right, 780-218-9999. Let's get to last night's game. Watched a lot of the post-game, Bellezy, with you guys last night. It was an interesting game to break down, wasn't it?
Yeah, it really was. It was scrambly.
Yeah.
Very scrambly. But then there was times where, like, okay, all of a sudden it's sharp. And when it was, the Oilers were obviously the better team because they have better players. But just they were not good defensively.
No.
Just very scrambly. They got
in the zone and on the rush.
Yeah,
I thought,
they got hemmed in like quite a few times. Couldn't figure out what was going on there. And then all of a sudden it'd be like one play happens. They go back the other way, goal. Like, oh, okay, well, good teams find a way to win.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's a recipe you want to continue to repeat. That's for sure.
Might be tough to find a way to win there if they have their three best defensemen
100%.
playing
If
for
you
them,
play
right?
the
Like
exact same way tonight, like as you did yesterday, it's a loss, in my opinion. Because I just think that Colorado's obviously got some high-powered offensive players, but you've got to manage pucks. And if you have some guys in Minnesota where you have your three best defensemen in, some of those goals that you're getting are probably not going in the net. So,
Gager, what do you think last night?
Sometimes you're not going to have your best stuff, and last night was one of those times. And in those types of situations, you maybe get by on goaltending, and they did. I mean, without Calvin Pickard last night,
Man, was he good?
It's amazing what these last 2 seasons of Calvin Pickard, what he's able to do as the number 2 guy, man. Yep. He's, I was kind of looking at other tandems in the league, and I really think that the Edmonton Oilers have the best goalie tandem in the league right now.
Really?
Looking at both of them, yeah. How they've performed over the last couple months. Tell me who's a better tandem. Try to find one. I don't see anyone. Look at it this way. And I asked myself the question. I said, if Stuart Skinner goes down, how do I feel? Yeah, you're like, okay, but then I go, at least we have Calvin Pickard. You look at other organizations, if Connor Hellebuck goes down, well, maybe we'll try again next year.
Who is the backup there? Isn't it Comrie?
Yeah.
But do you think the Oilers could win the Cup with Pickard? Like when you say try again next year for Winnipeg, it's almost like
it's hot, but I'm just saying my feeling of it. I feel a lot better than I look at a lot of other teams, especially just in the Pacific here. Like Vancouver's goaltending, I'm not sold on at all. Calgary, it looks like they only have one goaltender. Like Vladar has become the number 2 guy.
Yeah,
right?
Wolf's the guy there. Yeah.
Wolf's the guy. If Wolf goes down, Vladar is good, but I don't think he's the guy you want to be playing in the playoffs. San Jose doesn't matter.
The Knights have Hill and Samsonov.
And Samsonov, I don't know. That I saw him in Toronto. I would rather have Calvin Pickard than Samsonov. I'm just going through all these different guys and look at the way these guys have played. They have been unbelievable these last 2 months. There's been a couple hiccups here, but yeah, I'm pretty confident in saying that Oilers have the best goalie tandem in the NHL right now.
Wow, that is a hot take. I like it. But that being said, I don't have like 9 options where I'm like, you're way off here. I
kind of looked and I'm like,
I think there are teams with better number 1s than Skinner.
Yes.
But what is the situation like behind those guys, right? Yeah. And a lot of those guys are getting paid more and you can't really afford much. Like the Oilers combined goaltenders are less than $4 million, which is big right now for them.
I think I was staring at the Rangers, right? Because that's a pretty good, they were going pretty good at the beginning.
Shesterkin and Quick.
That's a good,
that's a good tandem.
If you're going to, that's the only one where I'm saying, but they both, the team
Who's
sucks.
Markstrom's backup in New Jersey?
Exactly.
I'm trying to think.
I don't know.
Who.
I do want to go back to just Vancouver, though.
Yeah.
If Demko gets his game in order, which slowly but surely it will come back as he
Allen,
from surgery, but you have Shelovs, and we saw what Shelovs could do in the playoffs. He's a pretty decent goaltender. So when you look at it for face value, and I'm looking right now, and it's saying Demko and you got Lankinen. Lankinen's probably not actually the next guy in line. It's probably Shelov.
It'd still be Shelovs, yeah. What do you think of Shelovs last year, Gager, in the playoffs?
Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
It almost got to the point where I was like, gosh, is this guy going to win this thing? I watched I watched a lot of that Nashville series too, and he was a massive part of that. Like he played better in that series than against the Oilers. He kind of, by the end of it, Oilers figured it out, and he kind of ran out of gas. But he's the 3rd goalie now. Right in Vancouver, once Demko gets, I think Lankinen, he's
a bit of a stopgap.
Yeah, no, he came in and outperformed, I think, what they thought he was capable of for sure. But yeah, Sheila, if Demko can't get back, and you have Lankinen and Shelovs, you look at the Edmonton Oilers duo, it's much better.
Okay, let's continue with Pickard here for a second, because Gager, I'd love to know how do you describe his play?
Oh, that's a good one. I was thinking about this the other day because he's kind of unorthodox, the way he looks and things. And I'll probably go a little bit old school here, but he reminds me of merging between Chris Osgood and John Casey. The way they look.
Oh,
so
that's a good John Casey drop.
Yeah,
but
so
emerging between
those two guys, because when he goes down and gets it, he kind of looks like Osgood, and then at certain points I go, God, he kind of did look like John Casey the way he was straight up and down there. So yeah.
Dude, you see any goalies, Bellezy, with the age you're coaching, like guys don't get developed like that anymore, do they? Like,
no, I see there's. At the younger levels, it's hard. There's so many goaltenders out there, and I don't see that level of goaltender anymore.
No, you don't, hey?
You don't. Like,
are they all little robots? Like, do they all look the same? Like, when you go watch 10 kids, do they all kind of look very similar, or do some kids stand out style-wise?
Some stand out style-wise because of their size with that style.
Yeah.
Like, I can speak to my team, and we have 2 goaltenders right now that they're 6'5" and 6'6".
How old are these kids?
These are they would both be 07. So what is that? They're 17.
They're 17s.
And so I'm looking at
boys.
them and I'm thinking about those guys and their style. And obviously they play the reverse VH and they're taught that. But I find that goaltenders at that size, they have a lot of holes, right? So goals that you're like, oh man, that shouldn't go in. It goes in because the guy's 6'6", and by the time he gets there, it's like, okay, well, that's wide open.
Yeah.
But then I look at my 15 team, and we got a kid that he might be 5'3", and he's making saves that he has zero business making. Still plays a reverse VH though, and so he's got about that much room. Well, no, that much
above
room
him when he's
down. But guys can't pick the corners. It's the weirdest thing. So they're all playing the exact same style, but because of the size discrepancy, it makes it a little bit different.
So that style has made it more difficult for the smaller goalies if they're all just playing the same style. Yeah.
Maybe it's because when I was a kid, the contrasting styles of all NHL goaltenders, like you could tell who was who, right? The way that they played. Like Patrick Waugh played a certain way, Hasek played a certain way.
Yeah, but just looking at him, you're like, well, that's they are. Eddie Belfour,
Bill Ranford played a different.
Yeah.
So, but then. So what do kids do? They emulate what they see usually by the big dogs on TV. Yep. And now goaltending has become a little cookie cutter. So who do they really...
Do you think that all comes from Carey Price being so damn good the way he played?
No, I actually think it's different than that. I actually think it's because of Connor McDavid, and I actually think it's because of Cale Makar and McKinnon, and you have less goaltenders actually playing in the sport.
So people just want to be forwards and D-men.
More guys want to be forwards and D-men because they get to see Connor and they get to see Leon. And I'm not sure if I were to scroll through Twitter right now that I would see 4 highlight reel saves. But I would see Connor 55 times.
That's a good point.
I'd see McKinnon 56 times. Yeah. And then all these kids are sitting back being like, man, that was sick. Or they would actually say, they wouldn't even say sick anymore. That was like 4 years ago. They say, ew.
Or they say, nice sty.
Yeah. That was actually 3 years ago.
Some kid on my U11 team keeps using sty. I'm like, you're 9 years old. What is this?
Yeah, they go, ew.
Because it's so sick.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Oh, my God.
So that's what I think they actually see. So there's less guys that are actually looking and trying to emulate those goaltenders. Because back in, I don't want to take shots at Gager, but like,
because you never score.
After, let's say, in the Patty Waugh era, all you saw was him making highlight reel saves. You saw Hasek making highlight reel saves.
Oh, yeah.
Cujo. Like, you can go down the list of all these different teams, and everybody had a stud goaltender. Now you don't have that.
Gager, did you become a goalie just because of goalies? Or was there like another thing? Because I became a goalie. I was a goalie for 6 years, and it was 100% because of Patrick Waugh. I was just like, and we had 3 goalies on our team in Kimberley. And we had 3 guys because we all just were like, no, we want to be like these guys. Yep. We don't even care if but that was the reason. It was just because of this one guy. I don't know. Nobody wants to be Andrei Vasilevsky. Like, you just don't.
It's just weird to me because to me, watching him, it's like, oh, I want to be like that.
Well, Vasilevsky's unbelievable. His movement is insane.
And maybe that's the point. Like, and you know, when you watch Hellebuck play, I mean, he's fantastic but he's not that flashy. You know, it's very controlled, but he's still able to make highlight reel saves. But there's no more windmills anymore. You know, the 2-pad stack has gone the way of the dodo bird. Like, you know, it's I mean, how exciting was it when Pickard gave the puck away yesterday? You know, when he makes the leg save and sliding around. I'm like, oh, it's great. Now it's just, I don't know. I think we're even past the point where I just want to play goal because that equipment's so damn cool.
It was cool.
But now you got the sticks and they're flashy and they got colors on them and they put their own names on it and stuff. That was a big thing with goalie gear too, is because you could get your name on it a lot, right? When you were doing that stuff. So
I'm laughing at one of the kids because I remember he did the highlight, the windmill, but it was so delayed because he caught the puck. It was in it. It was like 1, 2, and then
they gave her.
And I almost fell over.
So it's the first drill.
The funniest thing I've ever.
It's the first drill I do with goalies.
Boom.
Windmill that thing.
Windmill it right away. Just boom.
And you should see the smiles on their faces.
They love that.
They love that.
Yeah.
Right? Like
it's like doing the Michigan.
Yeah. You need to make it cool to play the position. Like that's what you have to, because outside, like the equipment just used to be enough.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, man, blockers and catchers are so cool. This is why I'm going to be a goalie. I had a blue Vaughn one when I was like 12, and it was just, I'd wear that thing all day. Like, I would have taken that thing to school if my parents would have let me.
I did. I took my Vaughn blocker and glove and went to school. General Gordon was where, and go with the tennis balls and recess and lunch.
Cool. Boom, boom,
throwing
boom.
it against the wall.
Yeah, that's not bad.
What is he doing?
We have this kid on our U11 team. He's a first year. He's I guess he would be 9, but my 7-year-old daughter is taller than him. Like he's the tiniest kid on our team.
Yeah.
I could put him up and carry him around like on my hip like a baby.
He's a purse.
But he is such a fierce little goalie. He's our goalie.
Yeah.
And he's such and now he's in the big net. Like last year, you couldn't beat him on the little nets. But he's on the big nets now, and but he has, there's some games, like there was one game we played this year, he let in 7 goals and 9 shots, and we're just like, what's up with James today? And then this last game at Minor Hockey Week on the Saturday game, it was like a standing ovation from parents on both teams.
Yeah.
Like he's just unbelievable little athlete, but he's so damn tiny. I hope he has a growth spurt somewhere along the way. This is a good point. This is exactly what you just said, Bellezy. Andrew says, Sportsnet just put out a video of the best highlights of the season so far, and not a single save was in the 30-minute video. And there are saves that could have been in that video.
For sure there could.
You know what I mean? Like the Skinner one the other night.
Pickard could have, both the Oilers goalies should have 2 or probably 3 in there right now.
Not one?
Not one.
Not one save in a highlight. But
he stopped a 2-on-0 last against.
Yeah. That's just unresponsible from TV broadcasters.
Yeah.
Like mixing some saves.
Yeah.
What was the save last week? It was referred to as grand larceny in the Ottawa game. Who was it? It was against, who they're playing? And just a ridiculous save last week. Can't remember who. Somebody will hit us up on the chat on that one. Anyway, that was a Pickard conversation from last night. What'd you think of the McDavid littlest, like it moved it a little bit. Like
it was hilarious. Like I don't know. I consistently talk to Tommy about it because obviously we do our show together.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I can't stand watching Draisaitl and McDavid take dirty play after dirty hit after dirty play and have there's zero accountability to it. It actually drives me insane because I'm like, these guys are too good to consistently be taking that. And, you look at the game yesterday and, Draisaitl gets his legs kicked out from underneath him. The game before that, McDavid gets slew-footed. And I understand that these guys are competitors and they're like, well, we'll just go score in the power play. We'll do all these different things. But there's I don't even expect to fight, but there's zero pushback to it. So when I'm looking at the play and I'm like, okay, Connor's taking some crap and he decides to do something a little bit borderline dirty, I'm like, I laugh about it because I'm like, hey, this guy takes it every single game all year and nobody complains about it.
I like it. I like to see them do that kind of stuff because they have to make some space for themselves.
Yeah.
It's kind of I thought about this. It's the first thing that went through my head was the Michael Keaton first Batman thinking. Like, you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts, right?
Yeah.
And they're willing to do do stuff. Leon's dirty sometimes.
He can be dirty. Yep.
You know what? I wouldn't be surprised if Leon takes a 5 tonight, just to let guys know. I mean, if I'm Connor, I might take a 5 and hit a guy with your stick. Just go. Is he going to lose? Look what Pietrangelo did. right?
Yeah.
Years ago. And that just was like, that guy, do I really want to take a two-hander? And who is it? Rob Brown tells a great story. And he'd do it at the beginning of the year, once a year. He would go up to his coach and say, Coach, I apologize for this, but I'm going to do something very stupid and possibly get suspended today. And he's like, all right.
Just to send a message at the beginning of every year.
Some guy would touch him, and he'd turn around and whack him right in the head or something, or just, slash in the face, cross-check in the face. He'd get the game, but then guys would go, well, do I really want to sit the next 8 hours in the dentist chair to repair my front row?
Yeah. I'll just let him go by.
Well, I can play him, just don't be an idiot.
Yeah.
And that's what I think that those guys need to do, because you don't have a team that is ultra physical.
No.
You don't have a team that's going to now be like, hey, I'm going to abuse Zuccarello and some of these other guys. So unfortunately, they've got to take, into their own hands.
Use some dirt for yourself.
100%.
Yeah.
And to me, I liked it because it was just like,
that's why they need non-guaranteed contracts, because then you sign like Larocque for a game, and he just runs and jumps in the other bench, and just let him go.
Take care of. I want to. You know what you
runs
want?
and jumps.
Well, maybe not jumps.
That's an exaggeration.
He's been working out. Did you see the video?
Oh, I did see the video. I also saw him potentially blow his hip out, or is that his knee? I'm not sure which one it was.
Oh God.
But yeah, no. Imagine. I can't even think of a tough guy that you would target, but it's like McDavid coming out and Shane Shirley, somebody at the beginning of the playoffs, to just be like, leave me alone or you're going to get it. We can look after ourselves. And you know what? It's not like they have to worry about a bunch of guys who are going to beat them up in the National Hockey League nowadays, right? It's a matter of trying to avoid the cheap shots that guys are going to take now.
You just need that one player like Washington, like Wilson, he could play on McDavid's line, right?
Yep.
And they would, when you went out there, you'd be like, well, do I really want to do that guy's coming over the top?
Screw loose.
Yeah. He might come and do something weird. And the Oilers just...
I think that is Evander Kane for them, though.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he's not in the lineup, and you just need a little bit more. And I know that Perry tries, but that's not in Perry's DNA necessarily.
No, he's an agitator.
He is. And it's in Nurse's, but you don't want Nurse fighting.
No.
Because now all of a sudden you pull a top three defenseman off the ice for 5 minutes, and the Oilers can't afford to do that. So they just need one more guy, in my opinion at least, for that to just, okay, enough's enough. If you want to play that game and you want to slew foot a guy, I'm just going to go after your star player, and I'm going to make his night miserable.
Can that guy not be Josh Brown? I'm trying to think of purposes he would serve. That would be what it's supposed to be, but yeah. So you want Jacob Trouba on the right side with Darnell Nurse. I know. That's what Noodle said 2 weeks ago. I haven't stopped thinking about it. He goes, just go to the Ducks and have them retain half more. You get him for $4 million for a year and a half. But he'd have to waive to come here.
Or a Gudis.
Yeah.
Right? Just something in your brain where it's like, no, I'm good.
That Trouba, that would be great.
They tried that with Lucic, remember, boys?
Yep.
That's what they were. Lucic was going to patrol McDavid's wing and look after him when he came in, and Lucic just kind of fell off a little bit. All right, so they fell behind 2-0. They put the big guys together. Hyman gets that goal after the power play goal that Minnesota scored. Then they get another one. And then we did see them stick with those guys together, and that's not really the story here. I want to talk about Nuge, Arvidsson, and Podkolzin. And Bellezy, I think it was you on the postgame show last night. Was that you saying that you love Nuge as just a third-line center on this team? Was that you, or did I see that?
That was me. I was just thinking about ways that you can unlock him a little bit more, because I think was it on Tuesday we were talking about how Nuge on McDavid's line, McDavid's actually slightly less
he's produced less.
Yeah. So I'm sitting there being like, okay, how can you get maximum value out of Nuge? And Nuge is obviously a really good complementary player, but at the same time, he's got a good skill set. So could he now dip down to the third line, create a really skilled third line with, a Henrique and a Brown, for example.
Or a Kane if he ever plays too.
Right?
Yeah.
And then he's playing against lesser competition, which might actually unlock him from a offensive perspective. And so that's kind of where I was going with it, because I'm looking at, you got Kane coming back at some point, maybe. And if you go get a guy that can now play with McDavid in that top six, and it's like Kane and Hyman and McDavid, that's your first line. You've got Podkolzin, you've got Arvidsson, and you've got Draisaitl. Like, you've kind of got all the elements that you need to have a really, really strong top six. And then you go down, okay, well, I want my top nine to be better. Now putting Nuge into that spot, your top nine is elite, in my opinion.
That would round it out very nicely. Gage, what do you think of those three guys together last night, though? And
I like.
is there some? Do you think it could consistently be a decent option?
Yeah, I do. I think Nuge is closer to becoming that third line center than he is playing on the wing with McDavid. You know, he'll be up there at certain points, but I think the natural progression for Ryan Nugent-Hopkins is to become that reliable third line shutdown guy that has some offensive punch. And Podkolzin, and you put Kane on there. That's really interesting if he comes back, and I think that suits him well because he doesn't have the pressure of having to produce offensively, but just a strong physical game going up against some pretty good third lines, whoever the Edmonton Oilers will play in the playoffs, right? But I think that skill level could be dangerous and provide that additional scoring if it does dry up on the first two lines.
Because isn't that why they brought Skinner in?
I think so.
The additional scoring is an option there,
Yeah.
So if you have Nuge in that position, that might be that additional scoring that you need.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, it's a little bit premature because you don't know what Evander Kane looks like coming back. Will he be able to catch up when everybody is a full year ahead? So there's that conversation that would definitely have to take place. But, I mean, being honest, you probably don't see that happening. You probably see Kane going down to the third line as opposed to Nuge.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's likely where it heads. They're in Colorado tonight. How much would you change with the lineup after last night?
I'd probably bring Stetcher
in for Brown,
and I'd take Brown out. I think I just need somebody a little bit more mobile playing against the Avs. But after that, I don't know if I would change anything.
Not getting Skinner, not getting Ryan back in.
No.
Was Ekholm a game time decision yesterday?
He was yesterday.
So
yeah.
is this the reason why they called Brown up in the first place? Because they just didn't know, like.
Well, Brown had been around a bit though.
Yeah, but
right, he'd been hanging around. Do you think maybe
they
something's
didn't
been lingering with Ekholm?
Lingering with Ekholm?
I mean, maybe.
Because I was wondering why they brought him up in the first place. Well, for the first showcase, but
Yeah, of course. Yeah, showcase. But yeah, I think they probably that would make sense. Stetcher in against a quicker Colorado team and go from there. Gager, any thoughts on Philp last night? Only limited time, but
yeah, I like good on the forward check. He's quick. He's big. Finished. He had a couple really good hits, I thought, in the offensive zone. Yeah,
won 4 of his 5 draws.
Yeah, I mean, that's what else do you want?
Yeah.
You know, like, that's going to be his spot eventually, with the possibilities of moving up. I like his game. It's great to know that he can play against a really good team. Is beneficial because it doesn't look like the Baco's going to make the playoffs, does it? Like, they're way down in the. Last I looked, so
I have been not updating Bakersfield, but I know they've been completely banged up.
yeah. So the chance, like, if he's here at the end of the year, I think that's good, right? Because he'll play some playoff games.
780-218-9999, 780-218-9999 is where you can chime in on the show. If you are listening right now over on YouTube, hammer the thumbs up for us. Feel free to chime in and have a conversation there with a bunch of guys. How are they?
They got 35 points in 33 games. 39. They've got they got 15 wins though, but they've got a bunch of games in hand.
Oh, they do.
They're not that far out of it.
Well, not bad with a group that's been kind of banged up then. Yeah. All right, let's quickly take a look around the NHL. Then we'll get the hired or fired here for GS Construction. John Tavares placed on the IR with the Toronto Maple Leafs. Bellezy, with Berube running the Leafs, like, they've been good in the regular season for years now. They're good in the regular season again this year. Do you in any way view them differently going into the playoffs this year than we have the last 5 years going into the playoffs?
No, because it's the exact same roster.
A lot of the same group, yeah. The same core.
Yeah, like I think they're going to give them this year to kind of see where they need to be, and then I could see them making changes. But it's just the same core, and as much as we want to sit here and pretend that we can change a zebra's stripes, you're not. You're not changing the way Marner is going to play. He's not all of a sudden going to become a grinding forward. And I don't know if they did enough, in the offseason, throughout the year, obviously, to address their lack of physicality, if you will. I just maybe there's a little bit more of a grit factor that plays into it because Berube is consistently on them and making them practice harder. But I don't know if it's enough to get over the hump.
Yeah. What impressed me about the Leafs was the fact that they did so well without Austin Matthews in the lineup for a long period of time. But it goes back to they're a good regular season team. You end up watching a lot of Leafs games, especially on Saturday because they're always on, and they're a river hockey team. They're good. Like there's a lot of skill and they can score goals. But I just think once the playoffs roll around and we saw teams, Florida, Tampa, they have another gear that I haven't seen the Toronto Maple Leafs play that style for years, and especially in the playoffs.
Yeah, like if you look at a team like Tampa, and because they have star players too, Kucherov, there's a little bit of a grittiness to Kucherov. Like he'll take a run at you.
Yeah, he's done some dirty stuff.
He'll do some dirty things, but I don't think Matthews has that same edge that Kucherov does. And I think when you get to the playoffs, that could be the little difference between whether you actually win that game because now you're in a 50-50 battle and I got to win it. I'm not sure Matthews is winning that, but I think Kucherov will.
Is that like a Hagel-Nylander discussion as well?
Yeah, like last night, Connor chicken wings a guy, right? When have you seen Matthews get pushed to that? Well, who did he grab? He grabbed some young kid years ago or whatever, right? But Marner's not going, like, as soon as the whistle blows, he's going straight to the bench,
When
right?
have you seen those guys hit a guy?
Yeah, like there's no like Connor and Leon have crushed guys.
Yeah.
And in the playoffs. You just don't see that from the star players. That level of intensity or the need, I don't think they realize what kind of impact it would be if Mitch Marner goes out for a shift and runs three guys.
Yes.
Like that would go, oh my gosh.
Now I better
start. Yeah. So, and they just.
Wasn't it? It was, I can think against the Kings 2 years ago, late in the series. Remember McDavid started that one game with a big hit on Mikey Anderson in the corner? It was just like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Bellezy, when your leaders and guys who don't usually do that, that's got to filter down through the lineup immediately.
Zero choice but to put your work boots on and go.
That's it. Like,
zero choice.
Especially when they've been blowing snow for 82.
It's like the boys have showed up.
Whoa.
Here we go now.
He didn't pull up like that. He didn't Ryan McLeod, that guy. Oh.
Big Uke in the chat says Matthews is a slash you in the back of the leg crybaby. Kucherov is a punch you in your face type of guy.
100%.
Yeah. Kucherov's a dirty butt end, like just a bag.
Didn't he knee somebody like 2 weeks ago inside a blue line somewhere? I can't remember who it was. But
like, I'm going to spear you.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to put this thing through
Kucherov would definitely spear somebody. All right, let's get to hire it or fire it for GS Construction. Some sad news today is Bob Uecker passed away at the age of 90. Just going to throw this out there. And I know, he did the job professionally and then, did it in movies as well. Bob Uecker is the greatest movie broadcaster of all time.
Ooh, gosh.
I'm trying to think of other options there. Obviously, his role in Major League will never be forgotten.
No.
There have been other funny...
Chris Berman, I think in Longest Yard was really
in Longest Yard.
Really good.
I'm forgetting the name of the show, but Hank Azaria. Do you know who's Hank Azaria is? He's
the voice of Homer Simpson.
Mo or whatever. And he had an HBO show where he was
he was an announcer. Yes.
And then he got sent to the minors and he's a drunk.
It was like a Dick Venner. It was like a Dick Vennerette tale.
It was really funny.
Oh, what was that?
It was really good. I would have to say, but
Brockmeyer.
Brockmeyer. Yeah. So, but I mean, how Major League with Bob Uecker, that was That was legendary.
Ball
That's
1, ball 2, ball 11.
And he's like, whatever, Wild Thing pitches are just a bit outside. And it's like
I can't believe they're laying off pitches this close.
This is the other one I thought of. V-Power's in, and the two guys. I wouldn't just label it to the one guy, but Bateman and the other guy in dodgeball.
Yeah, that was good.
Cotton.
That's interesting, Cotton. Let's see what happens.
They shot that in one day too. They just went in and shot it in one day.
Right.
Yeah,
Bateman's
that was
good.
Was it was Bateman, and then wasn't it the guy who's like Ricky Bobby's dad in
that
guy.
He's
He's
the guy
funny.
in
He's a
Office
funny guy
Space.
too.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, that was bold strategy right there. That was a good one.
Bold strategy,
bold
Cotton.
strategy, Cotton. Let's see how it plays out. It was that must have been a fun thing to shoot.
my
Like,
gosh,
your only job is to come in here and be ridiculous for 3 hours, and we'll record a bunch of stuff. Like,
On the Ocho.
yeah. God, that would have been good. All right, let's go here. Let's go to Montreal. Lane Hudson can become a franchise defenseman for the Montreal Canadiens at 5'9", $160.
What he's doing now, he's on the right path. Franchise defenseman? Everything's points now. Yeah, I'm going to say yeah. Oh,
You make a good thing. It's interesting when you said everything's points.
yeah.
Right? Because I think our view of a franchise D-man has probably changed a little bit over the last 20 years. But, Bellezy, what do you think?
Can I fire it?
Yeah, you can fire it.
I'm
Yeah.
firing
No.
Yeah, I'm firing it.
It's not hire it or hire it. You
Because
can
I
fire it if you want.
Because I don't think he impacts the game on the defensive end the same way a Cale Makar would.
Okay.
And so for me, when I look at a franchise defenseman, obviously Cale Makar is the pinnacle, and he is like elite on both sides of the ice. And I think Lane Hudson right now, he's good. He's really good. Offensively, I think he's going to be dynamic. I think he's going to be electrifying, but I'm not sure he's going to impact the game on the defensive end the same way a guy like Cale Makar would, which is why I'm going to fire it.
How many guys would you describe as franchise defensemen in the NHL today?
Hedman,
still, yeah.
Makar,
Quinn Hughes?
Yep.
yep.
Kulak.
Not Adam Fox.
I don't know.
Fox is
no.
Fox is
That-
a really good
that would be a
defenseman.
better comparable.
Yeah, that's why I was at
For
the top of
Hudson.
my head. I
Yeah,
was like,
yeah,
I wonder if he's
that's-
more Adam Foxy.
I think he's a foxy
Who
player.
are we missing? Hedman, Makar, Hughes. I feel like we might be missing one
I
or
feel
two
like
more.
might
Who are
be
we
two,
missing?
But those would be my franchise defensemen.
I mean,
No, I don't
Werenski's
think-
playing like one right now this
Yeah,
season. Like
playing
he's
really
been
well.
awesome this
no,
year.
I
but-
do not think Yossi would be.
Yeah,
awesome.
Roman Yossi's been the guy
I
like
don't
that for a
think
long time.
Bouchard is one of them.
Shout out
No.
Cass.
Bronco Nick.
Shout out Cass for Roman Yossi. He loves Roman Yossi.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Bouchard's not one. No, Bouchard is not a franchise defenseman.
Like, where do you put? I always find it funny where to put this guy, but Ekblad, where do you put him?
That's an interesting one because he actually got drafted
As
as
the
the franchise
First
as
overall.
the headman.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was going to be the next headman
Yeah.
or whatever,
And I
right?
don't know if he ever ascended to franchise defenseman,
Yeah.
but he's maybe one or two notches off. of
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, he's close, right?
I think
He's-
if he didn't get banged up along the
Yeah.
way, he might have been there. There are some people in the chat saying Drew Doughty.
Oh yeah, he is.
I mean, he was
Yeah,
for
he
10
was.
years,
Sure.
Yeah.
12, 15
He's
years.
more in the Ekblad camp now.
Now,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah,
Where do we classify Heiskanen in Dallas?
He's good too.
yeah, he's really good.
I'd like to see.
I would
I
say
think a
the
little bit
same
more
level.
offense. Same level as
Okay,
like
if
a
you-
Doughty and
If you're gonna
Ekblad
let's
level.
go those three,
Yeah.
where do you rate them? Like so, Ekblad, Doughty, and Heiskanen.
Heiskanen,
Doughty, Ekblad. I think I go Heiskanen, Ekblad, Doughty.
Fair.
Heiskanen's at the top. Though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'd actually put Cider in that same conversation. Like I would put those guys as like my
He's trending there.
Yeah.
right? And then you have your tier one, and you could maybe argue that Lane Hudson could end up being
In that type of
tier
thing.
two.
Rasmus Dahlin has come up as well. Yeah.
Morrissey's still somewhere around in there.
He's in that next,
Yeah.
like a very, very good
Yeah.
defenseman that can be a number one. Like there's
Yes.
there's number ones.
He's a number
and then,
one,
and then
though.
there's franchise guys.
But there's
Right?
yeah.
All right, Podkolzin, Nuge, and Arvidsson is the best other option when the lineup goes nuclear for the Oilers. Hire it or fire it.
Well, hard to disagree after that.
What
Hire
else is it
it.
supposed
Yeah.
to be?
Yeah.
Hire.
Hire it.
Who else are you putting in there? I mean, I really don't know what the other options would be there
is
right
no
now.
other
So.
options at this point.
Yeah.
So hired.
All right, Ty Emberson has top 4 potential. Not now, I'm not saying this, but top 4 potential possibly.
Hired.
Think so, eh?
I think he skates really well. I think he's been physical. I think his numbers in San Jose against elites were actually very, very good from an analytical perspective. I think he came into Edmonton and they gave him a little bit much, but he has been trending so much in the right direction that I would say within 2 years, he'll be a top 4 defenseman. Within the 2 years.
Reasonable timeline.
Yeah, I think you're dead on with that, Bellezy. He's just gotten better and better with more playing time. Again, it's just his trajectory is showing that he could be a top 3 or 4.
That's why I think they were so comfortable getting rid of Cece. Even though they didn't.
They were hoping that he could become that guy.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That was a gamble, but it seems to be kind of. I don't think he's CC yet. Do you think?
Well,
or is he closer?
I think he's close to Cece.
I think there was more offense in CC's game. Not that there was a lot of offense in CC, but there's none in Emberson's game.
Yeah.
Right. So
Made a good play last night, though.
he makes the odd good play. He hasn't put up
He's
much as far as numbers
just a
go. But
solid defenseman
yeah,
on a team that needs.
he's a good
more
third pair
solid
right shot guy with
defensemen.
Kulak.
Yeah,
Like I think you'd be comfortable with him going into the
It's the
postseason
same
in that
reason
role.
why he gave Vinny Desharnais the opportunity, because they needed a guy to be a solid defenseman.
And that's it. You're a D-man.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Don't worry about it. All right, we've got about 4 minutes left. Gage, I don't know if you saw this yesterday, but I've decided I'm going to rank every player in the history of the National Hockey League, 10 guys at a time. I did the top 10 a couple weeks ago, and I did 11 through 20 yesterday. So I got to lay this out for you guys.
Getting some heat for it too.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. People are like, oh, it's Habs bias.
Montreal's
They've been around for 100 years.
Yeah.
Of course, there's going to be a bunch of Habs on this list. So the top 10 was Gretzky, Mario, Orr, Howe, Messier, Yager, Crosby, Hasek, Ovechkin, McDavid. And then 11 through 20, I went Nick Lidstrom, 7 Norris trophies, 4 cups, and a Calder. I went Mike Bossy, who in his first 9 seasons scored 50 straight, all 9 times. 5 of them were 60 goal seasons. And then 4 Stanley Cups, then played his 10th year, was hurt, and retired. Phil Esposito at 13, 5 Art Ross, 2 Hearts, 2 Cups, over 700 goals. And when he retired, he was second to only Gordie Howe in points. I went with my man Patrick Waugh at 14. And the one thing that really stood out, he had 4 Cups, he had 3 Vezinas. No goalie has ever won multiple Conn Smites except him, and he's won 3 of them. So in the biggest stage, nobody was ever better. Guy Lafleur at 15, Art Ross, 2 Hearts, 3 Lester B's, 5 50-goal seasons, 5 100-point seasons, 5 Stanley Cups and a Conn Smythe. Jean Beliveau had 10 Stanley Cups, 2 Hearts, and Art Ross a Conn Smythe. And when he retired, he was second in scoring, only to, I think, Gordie Howe at the time. And then the rest, 3 defensemen and a goalie. Paul Coffey, I put at 17. 3 Norris trophies, 5 100-point seasons, 3 in Edmonton, 2 in Pittsburgh, 4 Stanley Cups. And kind of toiled around for the last 5 years of his career. But prior to those last 5 years, he was at 1.22 points per game, which was like 12th all time at the, if he didn't go and play in Philly and Hartford and stuff. And then I put Ken Dryden at 18th. He played 8 seasons. In those 8 seasons, he won the Stanley Cup 6 times. He won 5 Vezinas. He won a Conn Smythe before he won the Calder. He won the Calder the next year. Then his record was 258 wins, 57 losses, and 64 ties. 922 save percentage and a 2.24 goals against average. Like, he was the best goalie in the league from the moment he came in to the moment he left, which I think is pretty rare. Ray Bourque, 5 Norris trophies, got his cup by going to Colorado, 13 first All-Star teams, and is the all-time leading scorer among defensemen. And Ray Bourque played 1,612 games, and he's just shy of a point per game.
Really?
In 1,600 games as a defenseman. And then I dialed it back a little bit just because he won 7 Hart trophies and 6 Stanley Cups, but I put Doug Harvey at number 20. And I said older guys are like, Doug Harvey should be higher on the list. But
Can I throw a name out there?
okay.
And I'd love to hear what you guys think.
Remember, I'm doing 21 to 30 next week.
I get it. I get it. But Eric Lindros.
Oh, I don't know where he's going to go.
That's, I guess, why I'm asking this question, because was there a more dominant player at the time of their quote-unquote prime than Eric Lindros?
Well, this is why, because some people ask me, they're like, is this like the most talented hockey players ever? I said, no, those are the greatest careers. Mm-hmm. Because if this was a most talent, like, he was a freak. Oh, he was a freak. Man, I wish he would have stayed healthy. Because he came in and he was...
Like, his first 5 seasons.
Yeah.
His rookie year, he had 41 goals.
Yeah.
147 PIMs, 75 points. The next year... He had 97 points in 65 games. The next year after that, he had 70 in I'm assuming injury. That might have been lockout, but 46 games. The following year, he had 115 points. Like, he was dominant for a long time.
He couldn't.
I loved him. He was one of my favorite players.
Yeah, I remember a coach. The greatest quote I heard, like he.
And I don't know where I'm going to put him. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
One timer, he scored a goal and no one saw it and it went in the back of the net, and the coach was like, "Thank God it didn't hit our goalie because it would have killed him." Like,
strong guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Just
remember he was on the 91 Canada Cup as a teenager and he was like physically dominant. You're like, my God.
He didn't go right into the NHL because of the controversy, right?
Yeah.
It's funny though. You mentioned him, but one other player I think should be around in there, and again, kind of. Injuries derailed his career a little bit, but Peter Forsberg, because
Forsberg's top 10 in points per game all time. Like,
speaking of the hockey news, I remember years later after the Avs were going nuts, they polled all 30 GMs at the time. Only 2 said they would have gone with the trade that went through. How many would just go 1-for-1? Peter Forsberg, Eric Lindros. Only 2 said they would do it.
Really?
Yeah,
he was good. His feet were all effed up.
I played against Lindros in his final season when he was in Dallas, and like everybody thought this guy was kind of like just done. Mm-hmm. And I remember skating backwards, and he decided to go from the other side of the ice where I was safe to my side of the ice.
Did he get those crossovers going? He always had that quick feet.
He did. And I was like skating backwards. And I was having a conversation with myself. I'm like, if this guy chips a puck, I'm not getting it.
Business decision here.
Like, he's 300 pounds and he's flying around the ice. And he still had 26 points in 49 games. And he was all sorts of messed up.
Yeah.
But like that guy was just so dominant that it's like... I don't know if I need this in my life.
He was my first favorite player as a skater. Like I was a goalie guy, but Lindros was the first guy. I was just like, my God, he's amazing. He was incredible. Yeah, that's going to be a tough guy to put on a list somewhere because of the injury. Yeah, but he was great.
But I'm just because I know that your list is based off career,
and accomplishments and stuff like that. But I mean, he was good. All right, that's going to do it for Two Guys and Goalie. Gager, what's coming up on EST afternoons here right away?
Obviously, we're going to go over last night's game, go over tonight's game. We got the red light district at 1:40. Evan Rawalf, the Avalanche beat writer, we're going to talk to him about the Avs and tonight's game, and then set up the big show, 3 to 6, Reed and Jay.
All right, there you go. EST afternoons coming up right away here, 1 to 3 on Edmonton Sports Talk. Reed Wilkins show to follow. Bellezy, thanks for sliding in this week, buddy. That was a lot of fun. For Gager and Sean Bell, I'm Dustin Nielson. That's going to do it for Two Guys and Goalie, brought to you by our great partners over at GS Construction. If you are looking for a job, GS Construction is hiring right now. I'll talk to you tomorrow morning.